Peace be upon you, dear 7th graders. Today, as I promised you, we'll revise conditionals and question tags by doing 2 exercises about them. First of all, let me remind you about the basic types of conditionals. The first type, when we talk about something which is likely to happen, it's possible to happen, and the time frame of this conditional is the future. So in this case, we only need the present symbol in the if part and will plus the base form in the second part. Now the second conditional, I told you about things that are, or actions that are, or situations that are unlikely to happen, or in some cases unreal. So in this case, we use the past symbol in the if part while we use would plus the base form in the second part. Now the third conditional, when we want to talk about actions that are hypothetical or impossible, and it refers to the past, so pay attention, the third conditional refers to the past. In this case, use the past perfect in the if part and would have a plus verb 3 in the second part. Here we only need to use one of these forms, so one part of the sentence is done for you, while you only need to do the second part, or the if part, or the second part of the sentence. Here the exercise 1 about conditional 8. So pay attention. Let's know about the verb in the second part. If we tried to walk, if we tried, I'll shade them in yellow for you. If we tried. So think about the form of this verb. Is it present simple, past simple, or past perfect? Because if is in the second part in this case, so the verb will be present simple, past simple, or past perfect. Here it is in the past simple, so we use would plus the base form, and always the verbs between brackets are in 0 form, so we only need to add would plus the verb in brackets in order to do this sentence. It would be silly if we tried to walk there. Another one. Now also, here also, if is in the second part of the sentence, so here the verb is in present simple, as you can see here. So if the reviews are good, so we need the present simple. We need here, it is in the present simple, so we need will plus the base form. Again, when we have present simple in the if part, we need will plus the base form. So I will watch the film only if the reviews are good. Now another one. Here she'd is the contraction form of what? Had or would. In this case it would be would, and here it is in the contraction form, as you can see. So she'd, the contraction of form of she would, she'd have taken me. So in this case I need the past perfect. When we have would have plus the third form of the verb, namely would have taken in this example, I need the past perfect in the if part, and here it is negative, so I need past perfect negative. So the correct answer will be she'd have taken me to the station if her car hadn't broken down. The next one. Now pay attention to the second part because it's done for you. Here, as you can see, won't help, and this is the contraction form of will not help. In this case I need the present symbol in the if part, so as you can see, present symbol, namely the first form of the verb, but because it's negative I need to add do or does in the present simple. So the answer, the correct answer will be if you don't ask. Here the answer is ask, but because it's negative and we need to add an auxiliary verb, which is do in this case, in order to add not. So if you don't ask, he won't help you. Now the next one, very important, because it has a reference to the past, First of all, pay attention. Here we have a reference to the past. So in this case, it is in the third person, in the third conditional. It is the third conditional type because we have a reference to the past. Here, as you can see, as we've done earlier, yes, would have gone. In this case, I need the past perfect, and here I have not. So past perfect negative. I hadn't. If it hadn't rained. If it hadn't rained yesterday. Again, if it hadn't rained yesterday, we would have gone sailing. So it is a hypothetical situation. Now again, here the if part is what? If they go on holiday, go. So the if part is in the present simple. So we need will plus the base form. But before it is a question, pay attention, dear student, because it is a question, we need to invert the modal verb. Again, pay attention. Here, the if part is in the present simple, as you can see. If they go on holiday this year, okay? In this case, you need will plus zero form. So will look after. But because it's a question, as you can see the question mark here, we invert the modal verb will. So it will be, will you look after their dog? Again, will you look after their dog? Again, if they go on holiday this year. Now, another example here, will you mind? So I have would, it's also a question. I have would plus the base form of the verb. In this case, I need the past symbol in the if part. As you can see, use, and it's a regular verb, and it ends in E, so we only add D. Now, the next one, had contained is in the past perfect. So the if part here is in the past perfect. So I add would have plus the third form of the verb, and here we need it in the negative form. So wouldn't have opened the mail. I wouldn't have opened the email or the mail if it had contained a virus. Another one, yes, wouldn't go. Pay attention, wouldn't go. So I need the past symbol in the if part. And the past symbol or the second form of verb to have is had. So even if I had a wetsuit, I wouldn't go scuba diving. Now the last example here, you'd, okay? You'd known, and it is the contraction form of what? Of had. Is the contraction form of had. We can't say it's the contraction form of would. Why? Because in the if part we don't use will or would. So it's a contraction form of had. Had plus the third form of the verb, and in the second part I need would have plus the third form of the verb. And the third form of verb to be is been. But because it's a question, as you can see here, I need only to invert the modal verb. So the question will be, would you have been that strict if you'd known the truth? So I've done the modal exercise for you, and now I revise with you the tag question by doing this exercise about them. So complete the following sentences with question tags. You still remember their question? I told you about 3 main steps to make a question tags in English. The first one is to make sure if the subject is or the doer of the action is a noun. So in this case we replace it with a subject pronoun. Now also I told you that we need to invert a helping verb, and in some cases in present simple or past simple we don't find the helping verb, so we use do, does, or did. And the last important note, in positive statements we need a negative question tag, and in negative statement we need a positive question tag. And you add, as I told you, the question mark. Only important note here, always use the contraction form. For example, don't say is it not, isn't it? So we don't say is it not, isn't it? Use always the contraction form. Here he never, again never, here it refers to the negative. Never, it's considered a negative sentence because we have never. So he never acts like a gentleman. Here does. Why? Because the statement is in the present simple and I don't have a helping verb to invert, so I use does. I use does in the third person singular. The subject is he, so I don't need to replace it with a subject pronoun because it's already a subject pronoun. And here we have negative, as you can see. This never refers to negative, so I need a positive question tag. He never acts like a gentleman, does he? Now again, everybody, another important note for you here. Why? Because here we have an indefinite pronoun, and in this case we replace it with they. Everybody is replaced with they. Pay attention. Everybody is replaced with they. And here it is a positive statement, as you can see. Everybody was very happy, so it's a positive statement. I need a negative question tag, but pay attention, we need a subject verb agreement. So when you use they, use were, not was, because we need a subject verb agreement. Invert because you are making a question, and here it will be, in this case, weren't they? Everybody was very happy, weren't they? Now Tom knows that his father is in the hospital. Knows is in the present simple. I don't find a helping verb to invert, so as usual we use doesn't he. Don't forget to use negative question tag because the statement is positive. Another one, and it's very strange case, it's very strange for you to use aren't I. Pay attention here. I'm right, so the negative will be, in this case, aren't I. It's very strange for you, it's very strange form. I'm right, aren't I? Now the next one, it appears that she's enjoying herself. So is, only invert is. So, and don't forget to add not because the statement is positive. So isn't she? Now you've got a camera, and you've is the contraction form of you have. So in this case I can invert have because it's a helping verb. So haven't you? You have, haven't you? Now nothing, again, nothing. So it's indefinite pronoun, but in this case don't use they, use it. So replace nothing with it. Again, replace nothing with it. Nothing is considered a negative form, so I need a positive question tag. Nothing about me is true. Is it? Now the next one, Layla would like to get a scholarship. Layla would like to get a scholarship. So here I have a modal verb. I only need to replace it, to invert it. But before that, replace noun Layla, the noun Layla, the proper noun Layla with a subject pronoun. So Layla would, wouldn't she? Because the statement is positive, I need a negative question tag. Now Ruba, another proper noun. We replace it with she, the subject pronoun she for female. So Ruba wasn't in the class, was she? But here it is negative, so I use a positive question tag. Ruba wasn't in the class, was she? Now Jana can cope with the situation. Here I have a modal verb, I only need to invert it, but before that replace the proper noun Jana with a subject pronoun, which is in this case she. So Jana can she? Now another one, you weren't, only invert and remove not. So were you weren't listening, were you? The last one, he won't mind if I use his phone. He won't is the contraction form of will not, so only invert will in this case and drop not. Will he? He won't mind if I use his phone. Will he? This is everything about conditionals and question tags. As you can see, it's very easy to do such exercises. I hope that you are all studying well, and don't hesitate to ask me about any questions when you need between 6 and 8 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and see you later. Thank you.